As part of today's class, we are going to discuss about incompletion control process, or you can also call it as incompletion procedure. Incompletion procedure or incompletion control settings in SAP SD module. Incompletion procedure or incompletion process, or you can also say that incompletion control settings. So when you start working on SAP transactions, especially from the SAP SD side, from the SAP SD side, from the SAP SD module perspective, you are creating many transactions every day. So what kind of transactions you are creating as part of the sales cycle? What kind of transactions we create? We create a order, and we create a delivery, and also we create a billing document. As part of day-to-day transactions, we create different transactions every day, like as part of the sales and distribution model: sales order, delivery, billing document. Or even sometimes we have quotation, and also we have inquiry. So we have inquiry, we have quotation, and we have sales order, and we also have outbound delivery and billing documents. So this is the generic sales cycle. But when you have a requirement of using some agreements, when your business is having a requirement of having agreements with the customer, like what kind of agreements? A contract agreement between the customer and the company, which is referred, or which is called in SAP as a contract. And also sometimes you will be having an agreement with your customer, something called scheduling agreements. Scheduling agreements, that means some agreements are scheduled, that's called scheduling agreements, and the other one is contracts. These documents are also part of the sales process. The generic sales process is inquiry, quotation, sales order, outbound delivery, goods issue, and then billing document. But apart from the generic sales process, sometimes some companies may be having some special agreements with the customer, which we call it as outline. Agreements in SAP. Under the outline agreements, we have contracts, and also we have scheduling agreements. So even from the scheduling agreement perspective also, or from the outline agreements also, we have a special requirement of making sure that certain fields are important, or certain fields are mandatory as part of the transaction. So I mean to say that so as we progress in the sales cycle, what happens? The data gets copied between different documents. I mean, after creating the sales order, what you create? You create outbound delivery. So that means outbound delivery is created with reference to sales order. Am I correct? Outbound delivery gets created with reference to sales order. That means what? The data which is available in the sales order will copy to the data which is available in the sales order gets copied to the delivery document, right? Because when you create an outbound delivery, when you try to create an outbound delivery, with reference to what you create outbound delivery with reference to the order. So you just specify an order number. But when you create outbound delivery, will you specify the customer again? Will you specify the material again? Or will you specify the Incoterms or payment terms? Will you specify everything again as part of the delivery creation? Or if you refer the sales order, whether the system gets everything from the sales order, how it happens? What do you think? Hello?
Everything is referenced to from the sales order.
Yes. So when you create a delivery with reference to the order, so whatever the data is required for the delivery process, that is gets copied from the sales order. So that means what is happening? So as we progress in the sales cycle, the data gets copied between the documents from the sales order to delivery, delivery to billing, like this. So because of that reason, and also, and not only that, even when it comes to your transactional processing, when it comes to the transactional processing, what happens? There are certain fields which are important to work with the customer. There are certain fields which are very important to communicate with the customer, to handle the situation, handle the business situation. I mean to say that, so you create a sales order, you create a delivery, and you create the billing document. So once you create the billing document, what is the next step? What do you think? Once you create the billing document, so from the business perspective, what is the next step? Or when you purchase something, from someone, from store or somewhere. While receiving the billing document, while receiving the receipt for your bill, which is a bill, what they do from you? So they collect the payment, right? That means you need to collect. You need to, if you are a customer, you need to make the payment to that company. Am I correct? Hello?
Yes, Venkat.
Okay, that's correct. And at the same time, when you are selling the goods to your customer, after billing, generally what happens? If you go to the Walmart, as a customer, if you go to the Walmart, so like you make the payment and get the bill. But when it comes to the big business, as part of the commercial business process, so generally what happens? They don't make the payment in advance. Mostly, they don't make the payment in advance, right? They have some time given. Like when you are selling the goods to your customer, so the customer has given some time to make the payment. That means they will not, most of the times, they don't pay in advance. So even after creating the billing document, there are certain payment terms, payment conditions. Am I correct? There are certain payment conditions. Between a payment agreement between your customer and your company. Sorry, your company and your customer, like company and the customer. So there are certain payment conditions or the payment agreements or payment terms between your client and their customer. So that way the payment terms are mandatory. That way the payment terms are mandatory to get the payment from your customer. Right? Am I correct?
Yes, Venkat.
Okay. So and one more thing. So when you create a billing document, who will collect the bill? Who will collect the money from the customer? Do you think the sales people collect the money from the customer? Sales department?
No, it's the financial department.
So that way, whatever the billing document you create, that has to be integrated with your finance department. So whatever the billing document you create, that will be that way the billing document will be integrated or billing information will be transferred to the financial department. So when they receive when the financial department receive the billing information, what do you think? What are the things they look at? What are the things they look at? They look at what is the amount, right? What is the amount they need to receive from the customer, and also they will look at what are the payment conditions, right? They need to know what is the time given to the customer to get the amount. So that way, so what is the mandatory field? That way, what is the required field in all transactional data processing? The one of the important data is payment terms. So where do you enter the payment terms? Where do you enter the payment terms? If you remember, every day when you create a sales order, we are entering what we are entering. Every day we are entering the payment terms. Every day we are entering the Incoterms, right? We are entering all these details, right? Hello? Vivek.
Yes, Venkat, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. So we are entering the payment terms. So what if the payment terms, if we miss the payment terms, or what if you do not enter the payment term in the sales in the sales order? So we are going to give incomplete information to your finance department. So whatever the payment term you enter in the sales order, that will go to the delivery. From the delivery it will go to the billing document, and finally the billing document will go to the finance department. When it reaches the financial department will be having incomplete information. They are not sure when to collect the money from the customer, right?
Yes.
So that is the one thing. In the similar way, while creating the sales order, if you do not enter the price, if you do not maintain the price, what is going to happen? You are going to create the order, you are going to create the delivery, you are going to create the billing with missing the price information. Am I correct? Missing the price information. And if you integrate that data to the finance department is not sure how much money they have to collect from the customer. So that way, because of all these conditions, what happens? There is a requirement of making sure that we maintain the data. There is a requirement of making sure that we maintain all the important data as part of the transactional data processing. So that means, okay, if any important data is there in the sales order, any important fields is there in the sales order, so is it really a good idea to verify from the user perspective? Do you ask the user to verify each and every sales order all the information fields are available in the order, like payment terms are available or not, other info terms are available or not, pricing is available or not, or the weight is available or not, okay, or gross weight is available or not, net weight is available or not. So is it really good idea? Is it really good idea to ask the user to check everything from the user perspective for every transaction?
No.
No, right? We cannot ask that. We cannot ask that. So because of that reason, in order to check, in order to verify, or in order to check before saving the transaction, in order to verify each and every important field before saving the sales order, in order to verify or in order to validate each and every field availability in the sales document or delivery or wherever it is, what SAP did, SAP provided a functionality called or SAP provided a function, a basic function called incompletion procedure. SAP provided a functionality called incompletion procedure. So what this incompletion procedure will do? This incompletion procedure will validate, the incompletion procedure will validate each and every important field. So if you define in the background, if you define the required fields for our sales order or the required field for our sales order item, if you define the required information for our sales order header data, and if you define the required field for our sales order item at item category level and a document type level. So if you can define all the, if you can configure all the important fields in the background, and once you start creating the transaction, what happens? The system itself is having the capability to validate, to verify whether all the fields are available in the sales order according to the procedure defined in the background. So whatever the procedure you defined in the background for the document header level or the document item level, according to that, the system will check if any field is missing, if any field which you made mandatory in the background, if any field which you instructed it is mandatory in the configuration level, if that field is missing, what the system is going to do? The system is going to block the transaction. That means the system is going to put a incompletion log to the transaction. So this is the background of today's topic. So this is the business requirement of today's topic. Okay, that is called incompletion procedure or incompletion process. Okay. So let me create a sales order just to before we start going to discuss configuration. I just wanted to show you something. So let me try to create a sales order. Enter the order GB00 GB.
Venkat, we cannot see the screen.
Oh, sorry. I thought I already shared it.
Yeah, now it's visible. Thank you.
So I'm creating a sales order. Okay. See what is going to happen. One more minute. Okay. So now I am trying to save the sales order. Now I am trying to save the sales order. So what the system is saying? What the document is saying? The
Says
Document
document is
is
incomplete.
or when I try to save it, it is saying document incomplete. Would you like to save it or would you like to enter the data, edit the data? So if I go and check the edit button, edit option, okay. So what the system is saying that what are the fields missing? Gross weight, net weight, and order quantity. So how the system knows? How does the system knows that these fields are missing? These fields are under the incompletion log because someone might have already created. Someone might have already created or the configured incompletion procedure, incompletion process. Someone might already created incompletion process and they specified okay what fields the specified what fields are mandatory in the background. So because of that reason the system is able to check it. And one more thing, and also for example, so what it is saying, fill all the fields. So that means when you try to create a sales order, system is also checking some required fields, some mandatory fields. So that means as part of your transactional process, as part of your transactional data processing, or as part of transactional data creation process, we have the provision or SAP system has the capability checking what fields are mandatory. So what fields are mandatory in order to save the sales order, and what fields are optional but can be maintained later point of time. So I mean to say that as part of business process there are certain fields which are mandatory, which are required in order to save the sales order, and there are certain other fields which can be mandatory but allowed to save the document. For example, when it comes to the quantity field, when it comes to quantity field, what happens? Will the system allows you to save the sales order or not when it comes to the quantity field? It just gives the warning message, right? When it comes to the quantity field, so let me enter this. Okay. And if I try to save it, what it is saying that there are some incomplete fields like gross weight, quantity, net weight, but you're still able to save the sales order, right? So that means for some fields, the system may give the warning message. For some fields, SAP system may give the warning message, but for some fields, what is happening? The system is giving the error message. If it is error message, what happens? Can you able to save the sales order? No,
No.
you cannot. If it is warning message, you can save the sales order. For example, if I miss this, so can I save the sales order? I cannot. So how does the system know? How does the system controlling it, or how does the system knows that for what field it cannot allow us to change, for what field it can give the warning message and can save it? So it is all happening. It is all controlled. But the system is getting the guidance. SAP system is getting the guidance for this process with the help of the incompletion process. That means with the help of the incompletion process, what we can do, we can configure the system by giving the instruction what fields are mandatory and you cannot save the document, and what fields can be give the warning message and can save the document, and what fields are optional. So like this, you can tell the system, you can in the background you can tell, if my sales document type is this, these fields are mandatory, these fields are optional. If my item category is this, these fields are mandatory, these fields are optional. So like this, for each and every document type and for each and every item category, what we can tell, we can define incompletion process, you can define incompletion procedure, you can configure incompletion procedure, you can define the incompletion procedure, and you can assign that incompletion procedure. You can assign that incompletion procedure to the document type and to the item category. That means for each and every document type, you can assign different incompletion procedures. For each and every item category, you can assign different incompletion procedures. Or if you are okay, for all the document types, you can assign the single incompletion process also. So that's depend on your business process. Based on the document type which is being used in your business, you define the incompletion procedure and assign it. That means for some documents, payment terms are important. For some documents, payment terms are important. And what you do, you define an incompletion procedure in which you make payment term is a mandatory and assign it to the standard document type. For example, you are creating a sample sales order. Is the payment term are important for the sample sales? So we are not going to collect the money from the customer, right? So when you are defining the incompletion procedure for the sample sales document type, do you specify payment term as mandatory?
No.
No, right? Correct. For example, for the sample sales order, you need to do the delivery, right? Even if it is sample, you need to do the delivery. So when you do the delivery, you need to know the weight of the product. Am I correct? You need to know the weight of the product, right? Because based on the weight of the product, you will make the arrangements for your delivery. Am I correct? So for that reason, So the gross weight and net weight are mandatory in the order, right? For the even if it is a sample sales order, what are the mandatory fields? The net weight and gross weight are the mandatory field. Or even it is a sample sales order, you need to know from what shipping point you are delivering the goods. We need to know, right? So that way you can make the shipping point also mandatory. And you need to know the plant, from which plant you are delivering the goods, from which plants that product is manufacturing. So that way you need to make the plant is also mandatory. So that means based on the different document type, what you can do, you can define the incompletion procedure and assign it to the document type. So your business will tell you. So for my standard business process, standard document type business transactions, these fields are mandatory. Then what you say, what you do, you define the incompletion process ABCD. You define the incompletion process ABCD, and then you assign that incompletion process to the standard document type GBOR. Okay. And for the sample sales order, that is GBSR, sample order, GBSO. Okay. For that, you create a different incompletion process where you make like payment term is not important. You don't add. You just add shipping point, plant, net weight, and gross weight, some other things, and you assign that incompletion process to the GBSO, sample order. So like this, you define different incompletion procedure and assign it to the respective document type. So this is what we do in the background, so that when you start creating the transaction, system will check the mandatory fields. The system will check the fields which are required, but not stopping the transaction process. The field may be required, but system will not stop the transaction. That means later point. So maybe before creating the delivery, you can enter the data. But there are some fields which you can enter till you create the delivery. So that means what happens? If that fields are not available, you cannot create the delivery. So that means if for example, the previous example. So when quantity is missing and net weight is missing, order is missing, like gross weight is missing, did the system allow you to save the transaction or not? System allows you, right? Okay. See what is going to happen. So enter the payment terms. So try to understand the business process before we do the configuration. So enter the material, save it. So see, I could able to save the transaction with incomplete data. Am I correct? With incomplete data, I can able to save the transaction. If I try to create the delivery for this transaction, VL01N, okay. What is our shipping point? GB00, right? GB00. So what is the system saying that? So no delivery relevant items in the order because it is incomplete and also we did not specify any quantity. So if you create a order with incomplete data, the system will give the error message. Or let me do one thing. So go to the same sales order, VA02. So enter the quantity. So still it is incomplete. If I go here, so let me go to the conditions. Let me make price is 0. The price is missing 0. So if I try to save it, okay. So if I go to display of the sales order, you can see. So price is missing, but still system allows me to save the sales order. If I go to incompletion log, it's complete. I think it is. So VA02. Okay. Maybe they might not create, no? So it looks the configuration is not the configuration is not made price as mandatory. That's why it is not checking that. So let me try to create another sales order with a different material so that we can see that what I was trying to tell. So what has happened? So now the document is incomplete, right? The document is incomplete, but it is allowing me to save the transaction. So if I try to create delivery, see what the system is giving the message. So order is incomplete. So that means even though it is allowing me to save the sales order, but it is checking the document incompletion status before creating the delivery. So that means, so what the system will do, what the incompletion process can do, first of all, the incompletion procedure can tell the incompletion process can tell you, can control, the incompletion process can help us to check all the mandatory fields and will stop you saving the sales order, or will check the important fields, but it allows you to create the sales order, but stopping the further process, for stopping the further transaction process. So like this, it has the capability of taking care of all these things. So how? With the help of the configuration. So the way how you define in the background, the way how you define all the required business process in the background, so that system will help you. So that system will help you. So that is what we are going to discuss now, the incompletion process. So that is the way how it will help you. So let me go to SPRO to understand, to discuss the incompletion process configuration settings. And for your information, this incompletion procedure will not be based on the condition technique. So we don't use, though it is a basic function, though it is one of the basic function, we do not use the condition technique for the incompletion procedure. Okay, we follow the different process, we follow the different approach. Okay, sales and distribution, basic functions, log of incompletion terms. The name is log of incompletion terms. So here what we do, we define incompletion procedures, and then once you define the incompletion procedures, once we define the incompletion procedure, what we do, we assign that incompletion procedure to the different document types or different item categories. We assign the different document types or different item categories, and sometimes we will also assign the incompletion process to the schedule line categories also, schedule line categories, and also you will assign incompletion process delivery types, you will assign incompletion process delivery document types, and also we can assign the incompletion process to the partner functions as well. So why we are not assigning the billing document? Why we are only assigning till the delivery document type? Because if the billing is created, no further document, right? No further document. So that's why we don't need to worry. So when you are creating the billing, you create the billing document with reference to the order, with reference to the delivery. So then what will happen? Whatever the data is required, you already maintain in the previous documents, so that we don't need to have the incompletion control, incompletion process in the billing level. So once you define the incompletion process in the previous step, what we do, either we can assign that incompletion process to the sales document type, or to the item category, or to the schedule line category, or to the delivery type, or delivery item types, or you can assign to the partner functions as well. So that is the way how it works. Okay, we will continue to discuss about the configurations in the next class. We will continue to discuss about the configurations in the next class.